Part 2. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Did. Chapter 11. System, I love you. Ye Chen was excited. The SS level reward was awesome. With the accompanying divine willow planted, as long as he does not leave Fengming Palace, he will be absolutely safe. With saint level strength, the enemy is looking for death if they come in. As far as Ye Chen knows, a strong person at the level of a saint has not appeared for a long time. Even a strong person at the semi-saint level has not appeared for a very long time. The strongest person in the Tianyang dynasty is a great emperor. This emperor is a living fossil level figure. It is not easy to walk in the world. Under normal circumstances, a figure at the level of a god emperor is already at the peak of his combat power, and even the great emperor of national war will not be easily dispatched. Unless one party is facing the danger of annihilation. The system is planted right here. Ye Chen found a place in the backyard. Fengming Palace had its own small garden with a medium-sized pond, and the scenery was pretty good. Immediately, a small sapling appeared in Ye Chen's hand. Hey, you have to plant it yourself. Ye Chen dug a hole and planted the sapling. The sapling was only about a foot tall and looked extremely weak. Come here, bring a bucket of spiritual water that your majesty has given me. Ye Chen ordered. Soon a maid delivered a bucket of spiritual water. This water came from a spiritual spring and had many advantages, including longevity and speeding up practice. Ye Chen poured a bucket of spiritual water into the newly planted willow tree. Suddenly, the little willow tree grew rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye, reaching a height of more than 1 meter in just half an hour. The maids next to him were stunned. That was the spiritual water rewarded by His Majesty. Ye Chen actually used it to water the tree, which was an ordinary willow tree. What a luxury! What a waste! Planting of associated sacred willow is completed. The system's voice sounded in Ye Chen's mind. Ye Chen breathed a sigh of relief. He knew that he couldn't just plant it casually, he had to let it grow bigger. This willow tree is my lucky tree. Please go down and don't touch it. Ye Chen said to the maid next to him. Yes, Empress. The two maids next to him nodded quickly. They didn't have any strange expressions about Ye Chen calling himself me. On the other side of Yanghe Palace, they had already been with Ye Chen for 100 days. Xuanhuan, how many people are there in the palace? Ye Chen asked. It turned out that there were 4 most beautiful maids following the Yanghe Palace. Ye Chen gave them new names, Chunlan, Xiaozu, Qiuju, and Dongmei. They are all top school beauties in appearance. The younger one is 18 and the older one is only 20. Luo Hongjian asked them to be Ye Chen's personal maids. At least one of them must be by Ye Chen's side 24 hours a day. At first, Ye Chen couldn't figure out what Luo Hongjian meant, so she was testing him. Later it became clear that as his strength increased, Luo Hongjian should have asked the 4 of them to protect him. Despite their young age, they all have Xingai level cultivation. If you put it outside, you will definitely look like a beautiful girl from heaven. Chunlan quickly saluted and said, Empress, there are now a total of 360 people in our Fengming Palace, but not all of them are in Fengming Palace. There are about 120 people permanently living in the palace. The rest are in other places, providing services for the operation of the entire Fengming Palace, the travel of the Emperor and the Empress, etc. Ye Chen was startled. What a guy, hundreds of people serve one Emperor and Empress. The richest man in his previous life did not receive such treatment at all. Chunlan, please tell me, if there are servants in Fengming Palace who do not behave well, they can be disciplined, but they are not allowed to be bullied at will. If they are found, they will be severely punished. Ye Chen said seriously. Yes, Empress. Chunlan nodded. She and Xiaozu next to her had a strange look in their eyes. Ye Chengi was the emperor and he actually cared so much about his servants. What about the expenses in the mansion? Ye Chen asked. He is the emperor and empress, and the expenses of Fengming Palace are under his control. Xiaozu said, Empress, I understand this aspect quite clearly. Every month, the household office gives Xuanhuan 10,000 taels of silver. 50,000 taels of it will be used for you, the emperor and empress. 2,000 taels are the salary of the people in the government. 2,000 taels will be used for the rest of the government's expenses. The monthly balance of about 1,000 taels is used as emergency expenses. In addition, His Majesty's reward for you, the Emperor and Empress, is extra. You can save all of it? Ye Chen was stunned for a moment. A total of 10,000 taels were spent on him, and 5,000 taels were spent on him. Hundreds of people are eating and drinking, and the total expenses including the government's expenses are only 4,000 taels? This evil old society. As an emperor and empress, he feels quite happy like this, but he just wants to sign in and doesn't care much about eating and drinking. He doesn't need to spend so much. Xiaozu, adjust yourself. I only need 2,000 taels per month. The various expenditures in the mansion will increase by 1,000 taels, mainly to improve the food for the servants in the mansion. I will go there for a meal from time to time every month. The salary will be increased by 1,000 taels, and everyone's salary will be increased by 50% on the original basis. There is still 1,000 taels left. After Ye Chen said this, Chunlin and Xiaozu were shocked. Ye Chen actually reduced his expenses by 3/5. 2,000 taels of it were spent on their servants. Empress, you can't do it? Yes, Empress, this is against the rules. Chunlin Xiaozu knelt down and said. Ye Chen waved his hand, there's nothing that can't be done. My monthly expenses at Yanghe Palace shouldn't be 2,000 taels, right? Ye Chen still knew the price of goods in this world. One tael of snowflake silver was equivalent to about 3,000 yuan. 2,000 taels converted into RMB would be 6 million. Xiaozu said, Empress, you were only the quasi-empress before, and your monthly expenses were about 500 taels. Ye Chen was secretly surprised, he felt that he had enjoyed it very much before. Eating and drinking can be based on the previous standards, the other expenses of the empress will be higher, but 2,000 taels should be enough. I am the boss in the harem, and my words are the rules. That's it? Ye Chen said lightly. Chunlin and Xiaozu were still very embarrassed. Ye Chen said, the original empress had a lot of expenses, mainly because there were many people in the harem, and concubines often came to the empress, and they had to entertain them, and they had to give gifts to each other, etc., all of which can be exempted here. There won't be many trips out, and the cost of travel will also be greatly reduced. 2,000 taels is definitely enough. Chunlin and Xiaozu nodded with bitter faces. Ye Chen is the empress, and they can't do anything about Ye Chen's insistence. The news spread, and the whole Fengming Palace was full of joy. Poor food, low salary, and oppression are the pain points of many servants in the palace. Ye Chen solved these 3 pain points in one go. The Empress is kind. Yes, the Empress is really good. Ye Chen heard a lot of such discussions, and he was a little sad. It's okay to call her the Empress, but she also added a Empress. Alas. Not long after, Luo Hongjian also got the news, and she showed surprise in her eyes. It's interesting that they gave away such a treasure as potatoes, and took the initiative to reduce their own expenses and increase the welfare of the servants. Luo Hongjian whispered softly. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Di. Chapter 12. In the blink of an eye, half a month passed, and Luo Hongjian did not come. Ye Chen did not care. He basked in the sun and read a book, and then used spiritual water to water the companion divine willow. In half a month, the companion divine willow grew to 5 meters high. Ye Chen's strength also reached the 4th level of the Divine King. Hua. In the middle of the night, the companion Divine Willow moved without wind. An old eunuch floated into Fengming Palace like a ghost, and he quickly approached Ye Chen's bedroom. Tonight, Qiuju served, and she stood outside Ye Chen's bedroom. Suddenly Qiuju fell down. Qiuju only had the cultivation of Xingai level, and the old eunuch who came was a strong man of the Divine Emperor level. Some of them had the means to easily knock Qiuju unconscious. Boy, it's your fault that you are blind and dare to offend the Queen Mother. Letting you live for another half a month is the Queen Mother's kindness to you. The old eunuch grinned. He was the old eunuch next to the Queen Mother Du that day. Queen Mother Du endured for half a month, and sent him to kill Ye Chen tonight. Tianyang Imperial Palace has peerless strongmen sitting in guard to prevent external invasion, but the internal defense is not so strong. The old eunuch is a palace man, he is powerful. Normally it is easy to kill a small postnatal level figure. The Queen Mother asked you to kill me. The old eunuch sneaked into Ye Chen's room, and Ye Chen's voice suddenly rang. The companion god Willow reminded him that he woke up early. Boy, you are smart. It's a pity that smart people don't do smart things. If you anger the Queen Mother, you will die even if you are the emperor. The old eunuch laughed strangely, and his power enveloped the room, not afraid of Ye Chen's shouting. How many levels are you in the Divine Emperor? Ye Chen asked. The old eunuch said proudly, I am the 3rd level of the Divine Emperor. Although you are the Emperor, you are an ant in my eyes. Die. The old eunuch suddenly attacked. In his eyes, Ye Chen was already dead, and he was too lazy to talk too much nonsense with a dead person. Puff. As soon as he stretched out his hand, the old eunuch's body froze there, and his head and heart were pierced by a thin willow branch. The physical body of a strong man at the level of the God Emperor is very strong, but in front of that delicate willow branch, the old eunuch's body seemed to be made of tofu, without any resistance. You. The old eunuch's eyes widened, he couldn't believe it. His own cultivation at the level of the God Emperor was actually defeated by Ye Chen, and he was easily killed in seconds. It's really an ant. Ye Chen smiled lightly, he waved his hand, and a terrifying suction came out from the willow branch, and the old eunuch's body, including his clothes, were swallowed up cleanly. Ye Chen's bedroom is less than 100 meters away from the companion god Willow. In this range, the companion god Willow has the strength of the Saint Venerable level. In front of the Saint Venerable level of strong men, the half-saints have to be beaten. The Emperor is not worth mentioning. What is the God Emperor level figure? The Queen Mother actually sent someone to assassinate me. The death of the Emperor and Empress will inevitably cause great loss of face for the royal family, and the reputation of the Tianyang dynasty will be seriously affected. As the Queen Mother, it is impossible not to know this. Mrs. Du has a lot of opinions about me and Hanjian. Ye Chen thought to himself. An emperor and empress without any foundation is not worth the Queen Mother's fuss. This is mainly aimed at Luo Hanjian. The death of the emperor and empress will be a huge blow to Luo Hanjian's prestige. If you can't protect your own emperor and empress, how can you protect the people of the world? In addition, there is a famine in various places at present. As long as the news spreads, and someone guides it again, the people will be in chaos. Luo Hanjian's throne will be shaken. Mrs. Du took such action for her own son. 4 years have passed, and some people still don't give up. Ye Chen was amazed. The environment 4 years ago must have been even worse. Under such circumstances, Luo Hanjian was able to gradually stabilize the throne. My wife is really amazing. Half an hour later, Qiuju woke up. Her face changed drastically. I didn't know how I fell down. If something happened to the Empress, the consequences would be disastrous. Dong dong. Qiuju knocked on the door quickly. After a while, Ye Chen came over and opened the door in his pajamas. Qiuju, What's the matter? Ye Chen said in a daze. Qiuju knocked on the door and woke him up just after he fell asleep. Plop. Qiuju knelt heavily on the ground. Empress, I don't know how I fainted just now. I'm guilty of death. Maybe there was a little problem with your practice. Pay more attention to your practice. It's just a small matter. Get up quickly. I have to continue sleeping. Ye Chen closed the door and continued to sleep. Qiuju breathed a sigh of relief in her heart. Fortunately, the Empress was kind. It's impossible for there to be problems with practice. Qiuju got up and said to herself. The practice she practiced was based on calligraphy. It was moderate and peaceful. She had never had such a situation before. After a careful recollection, Qiuju felt that she fainted more like being attacked by a powerful master. Chunlin, Xiaozu, Dongmei, I may have been attacked just now. I was unconscious for some time. The Emperor and the Empress are fine, but we should still be alert. Kyoja sent a message to Chunlin and the other three. One of them was sleeping, and the other two were practicing. After hearing Kyoja's message, they immediately left the room and carefully checked around Ye Chen's bedroom. The second half of the night was very quiet, and no assassins came. Seeing Ye Chen staggering out of bed, Kyoja and the other four secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Is there really something wrong with the practice? Qiuju was puzzled. In the Yangzin Palace, Empress Dowager Du also got up. After washing up with the help of the maid, a rich breakfast was placed in front of her. Go, call eunuch Cao. Empress Dowager Du said indifferently. Eunuch Cao was the old eunuch she sent last night. With eunuch Cao's strength, he must be able to succeed. It is estimated that the bodies of the Emperor and Empress will be discovered soon. Yes, Empress Dowager. The maid immediately went to find eunuch Cao, but she didn't find him after searching around. There was no one where eunuch Cao lived. Empress Dowager, eunuch Cao doesn't seem to be in the mansion. The maid reported. Empress Dowager Du's face changed slightly. Eunuch Cao was still very steady in doing things. How could he not come back after doing such an important thing? The Emperor and Empress died. If eunuch Cao was not in the mansion at this time, he would definitely become a suspect. At noon, eunuch Cao still did not appear. Empress Dowager Du could not sit still. I don't know how the Emperor and Empress are doing these days. As an elder, I should care about him. Go to Fengming Palace. Empress Dowager Du said. The Empress Dowager's Phoenix sedan chair was quickly prepared. After about 20 minutes, Empress Dowager Du's Phoenix sedan chair arrived outside Fengming Palace. The Empress Dowager has arrived. Another old eunuch beside Empress Dowager Du spoke loudly, and Ye Chen led many people from Fengming Palace to greet him quickly. Welcome to the Empress Dowager. I heard the magpie call early this morning, and I knew there must be good news. I didn't expect it to be the Empress Dowager. Ye Chen said with a smile on his face. He sneered in his heart, thinking that the old witch was probably here to get information. The dead eunuch Cao was the second best man around Empress Dowager Du. Empress Dowager Du spent a lot of money to train him. Empress Dowager, I am the elder. You are new here and I don't know if you are used to the life in the harem. I came to visit you. Empress Dowager Du said calmly. She stared at Ye Chen's eyes, trying to see something from Ye Chen's eyes, but she couldn't see anything. Queen Mother Du's cultivation is not low. She is at the Ningyang realm, and the difference in the eyes of people at the postnatal level can't be hidden from her. However, Ye Chen is not at the Ningyang realm. Ye Chen is a strong man at the 4th level of the Divine King, and his strength is only slightly lower than Luo Hanjian. Could it be that eunuch Cao was captured by the masters in the palace and didn't come? Queen Mother Du thought in her heart. There are more than one top strong men in the Tianyang Imperial Palace. They can't just scan with their spiritual sense, but they sometimes patrol everywhere. It is not impossible for eunuch Cao to be encountered by them. Although eunuch Cao has the strength of the third level of the Divine Emperor, he is naturally inferior to some of the top strong men in the Tianyan Imperial Palace. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Di. Chapter 13. Empress, your servants should all be obedient. If you don't want to punish them yourself if they are disobedient, tell the AI family. Queen Mother Du said. While chatting with Ye Chen, she found a reason to check the entire Fengming Palace. Eunuch Cao was not found, and there were no signs of a fight. Ye Chen said with a smile, Queen Mother, the servants in Fengming Palace are very nice, and I won't be polite if someone messes around. I'll beat them when they should, and kill them when they should, so I won't bother you, Queen Mother. Queen Mother Du glanced at Ye Chen. Ye Chen, is there something in his words? But Ye Chen's expression didn't look like it. She looked through the entire Fengming Palace, and the most powerful ones were only the 4 maids, and they all only had Xingai level cultivation. Eunuch Wang, are there any masters in Fengming Palace? Empress Dowager Du sent a message to the old eunuch beside her. This old eunuch was not as powerful as eunuch Cao, but he was still a god king level figure. Queen Mother, no. There is no Ninjiang level figure in the Emperor's palace, and I didn't find anything unusual. The prince conveyed the message truthfully. Queen Mother Du suppressed the doubts in her heart, maybe she was too worried. Empress, since you have adapted well, the AI family can rest assured. The AI family will go to the Purple Dragon Palace to see Hanjian's condition. Do you want to come with us? Queen Mother Du said. Okay, okay. Ye Chen responded with a smile. His Emperor's Phoenix Chariot and Empress Dowager Du's Phoenix Chariot left at the same time, and Empress Dowager Du's suspicion of Ye Chen became even lower. If eunuch Cao had been here and Ye Chen had been assassinated, how could Ye Chen leave with her with peace of mind now? How did Empress Dowager Du know that even if she left the mansion, Ye Chen himself had the strength of the 4th level of the God King? It's impossible to simply assassinate Ye Chen. Ye Chen actually didn't think that much. He missed his wife. In addition, he can go to the Purple Dragon Palace to sign in. Purple Dragon Palace. Just after Luo Hanjian went to court, she got the news that Queen Mother Du had gone to Fengming Palace, and now she and Ye Chen were coming to her place. Why did the Queen Mother suddenly go to Fengming Palace? Luo Hanjian frowned secretly. Although Ye Chen was quite talkative, if he faced off against Queen Mother Du, Luo Hanjian felt that Ye Chen would definitely suffer. There are 2 God Emperor level experts around Queen Mother Du, and there are also God King level experts. Luo Hanjian knows this. What does Fengming Palace have? Chunlin and the others only have Xingai level strength and can only provide general protection to ensure that Ye Chen will not be killed by ordinary palace people. It was not that Luo Hanjian had never thought of sending top experts to protect Ye Chen, but she gave up after thinking about it. If there are other top strong men who want to kill Ye Chen, even if there are strong men at the God Emperor level protecting Ye Chen, it will be difficult to ensure safety. Ye Chen's own acquired strength is too weak, and there are too many ways to kill him. Queen Mother, Empress. Ye Chen and the others arrived not long after. Luo Hanjian came to greet them outside the Purple Dragon Palace. She saluted Queen Mother Du. He nodded towards Ye Chen. Empress Dowager Du said, Hanjian, the AI family heard that you have been busy with state affairs recently and have no time to visit the Empress, so the AI family went over to visit the Empress. You are newly married, so no matter how busy you are, you cannot neglect the Empress. Luo Hanjian glanced at Ye Chen. Why did the Queen Mother speak for Ye Chen? That's what the Queen Mother said. My minister is indeed very busy recently. There is a serious food shortage in various places. The Emperor and Empress should be able to understand. Luo Hongjian said. Ye Chen said quietly, His Majesty's state affairs are of paramount importance. Of course I can understand that. As long as His Majesty gives you a small hug, I don't have any problem with His Majesty not visiting me for half a month. Queen Mother Du saw that there were many other people beside her, and Luo Hongjian secretly rolled her eyes. The Empress is so considerate. Luo Hongjian opened her arms, and Ye Chen immediately stepped forward and hugged Luo Hongjian. It was obviously Ye Chen who wanted to hug him, but the feeling of hugging everyone felt wrong. Although Luo Hongjian is 1.7 meters tall, she has a slender figure and is very petite compared to Ye Chen. Instead of Luo Hongjian hugging Ye Chen, it was Ye Chen who held Luo Hongjian's entire body in his arms. Hongjian, you still smell so good. Ye Chen transmitted the message. Luo Hongjian's body stiffened slightly, and she had the urge to slap Ye Chen to death. Ye Chen, you are so impudent. Hongjian, we are husband and wife, isn't it normal to hug each other? Ye Chen hugged Luo Hongjian for a few more seconds before letting go of Luo Hongjian. Luo Hongjian was calm on the surface, but secretly her teeth were itching with hatred. Empress Dowager Du's eyes sparkled. It turned out that she was unhappy with Ye Chen. How could Ye Chen, a loser, be worthy of Luo Hongjian? After all, Luo Hongjian is the darling daughter of the royal family, and she is also the Empress. Now Empress Dowager Du suddenly changed her mind. If the relationship between Ye Chen and Luo Hongjian is not good, even if Ye Chen dies, Luo Hongjian can tell the outside world that she has no intention of marrying the emperor, so naturally she is not that concerned about the emperor's protection. Luo Hongjian doesn't really think so, does she? Otherwise, why doesn't Fengming Palace have any powerful people? Queen Mother Du thought to herself. Hongjian, the AI family is relieved to see you and the emperor and empress being so close. The AI family thought that you hadn't been to Fengming Palace for half a month and were dissatisfied with the Empress. In that case, the AI family would have to make arrangements to find you again. Several concubines. Queen Mother Du smiled. Luo Hongjian's face changed slightly. She didn't want Empress Dowager Du to find an imperial concubine for her again. Her mind was not in the harem. Queen Dowager, no matter how busy the state affairs are, I will definitely go to Fengming Palace more often in the future, please rest assured. Luo Hongjian said. That's good. Queen Dowager Du nodded slightly. At this point, she stared at Luo Hongjian's eyes and said, Hongjian, my old servant Cao Gong Gong disappeared today. How about you ask someone to find him and send him back to me when you find him? Luo Hongjian frowned secretly. Eunuch Cao disappeared? She knew that Eunuch Cao was not an ordinary old servant. Eunuch Cao was the second best man beside Queen Dowager Du, with the cultivation of the third level of the Divine Emperor. She is now at the fifth level of the Divine King, which is far inferior to Eunuch Cao. Queen Dowager, I will ask someone to find him, but I may not be able to find him. Eunuch Cao is so powerful that he may have secretly left the palace. Luo Hongjian said. Queen Dowager Du raised her eyebrows. It was impossible to sneak out of the palace. If he could not be found, Eunuch Cao might be in danger. Your Majesty, Eunuch Cao is an old man by my side. It is unlikely that he sneaked out of the palace. You must find him back. You can talk more with the Emperor and Empress. I will not disturb you. I will go back and wait for Eunuch Cao to come back. Empress Dowager Du secretly put pressure on Luo Hongjian. If Luo Hongjian's people only arrested Eunuch Cao, they would probably release him under her pressure. Farewell, Empress Dowager. Luo Hongjian and Ye Chen said in unison. Empress Dowager, let's talk inside. Luo Hongjian was in front, and Ye Chen followed behind with a smile and entered the Purple Dragon Palace. Luo Hongjian waved her hand, and the door was immediately closed. "Hanjian, come on, I'm ready to devote myself to you at any time." Ye Chen looked like he was ready to be picked. "As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible." Author, New Di. Chapter 14. Luo Hanjian gnashed her teeth and glared at Ye Chen. "Ye Chen, you just took advantage of me again." Ye Chen smiled and said, "Hanjian, we are husband and wife, isn't it normal to hug each other? Besides, the Queen Mother also asked us to be closer, I have to listen to the Queen Mother." "Humph." Luo Hanjian snorted coldly. "Ye Chen, why did the Queen Mother go to you, and she said that eunuch Cao was missing, do you know anything?" Ye Chen shook his head. "The Queen Mother said she came to see me early in the morning and walked around my place. How do I know what happened? Did eunuch Cao find a place to tease the palace maids?" Luo Hanjian rolled her eyes. "Eunuch Cao is so idle? If he doesn't have that function, why bother?" She felt stupid. What can Ye Chen know with his acquired level of cultivation? If eunuch Cao wants to kill Ye Chen will definitely die in his sleep without knowing why. Thinking of Ye Chen's death, Luo Hanjian suddenly felt uncomfortable. Could it be that I have some feelings for Ye Chen? Luo Hanjian's expression was a little complicated. If Ye Chen really died, would she be sad? "Ye Chen, you stay in Zilong Palace for a few days to avoid gossip from others," Luo Hanjian said lightly. She felt bad about the disappearance of eunuch Cao. There is such a possibility that eunuch Cao disappeared first and then killed secretly. Even if Ye Chen died and went to the Queen Mother could say that eunuch Cao had rebelled. No matter what eunuch Cao did, it was eunuch Cao's own behavior and had nothing to do with her. "Live here." He, good. Ye Chen's eyes lit up and smiled. Even if he couldn't do something between husband and wife with Luo Hanjian, wouldn't it be nice to sleep in the same bed with Luo Hanjian? Even if he slept on the floor, it would be pleasing to the eyes to see such a beautiful woman like Luo Hanjian next to him. "I'll check the matter of eunuch Cao, you can do it yourself." Luo Hanjian left, and soon she ordered to look for eunuch Cao in the entire Tianyang Imperial Palace. 10 minutes later, Kaiju asked to see Luo Hanjian. "Kaiju, why do you want to see me?" Luo Hanjian asked. Ye Chen changed Kaiju's name and Luo Hanjian called them according to Ye Chen's name. Kaiju knelt down and said, "Your Majesty, there is something I should tell you. I fainted while on duty last night. The Emperor and Empress said that I might have a problem with my practice. I don't think so." Luo Hanjian immediately checked Kaiju. She has the strength of a god king, and it is easy to judge that there is nothing wrong with Kaiju's body. "Kaiju, there is no sign of coma caused by practice in your body," Luo Hanjian said in a deep voice. Kaiju's face changed. If so, it is very likely that she was attacked secretly and fell into a coma. Luo Hanjian frowned slightly. Could it be that eunuch Cao's actions were discovered by the strong men in the palace? The other party may have warned eunuch Cao, and eunuch Cao fled the Tianyang Imperial Palace for fear of being punished. Assassinating the Emperor and Empress is a capital crime. As for why the strong man who discovered eunuch Cao did not stand up, Luo Hanjian also understood. Eunuch Cao is the Queen Mother's man. "Kaiju, forget about it. You didn't faint last night. Understand? Does anyone else know?" Luo Hanjian said. Kaiju said respectfully, "Your Majesty, I only told Chunlin and the others. They won't say anything." Luo Hanjian nodded slightly. "The Emperor and Empress will be in Zilong Palace for the next few days. You go back and ask Chunlin and the others to come to Zilong Palace to serve the Emperor and Empress." "Yes, Your Majesty." Kaiju left. Sign into Zilong Palace and get an S-level reward Guardian Ring, which can resist 1 semi-saint level attack or 10 Emperor level attacks. It takes a month to restore the power of the Guardian Ring after it is completely consumed. Equipment requirements, female. While Luo Hongjian was investigating eunuch Cao, Ye Chen was lying in the backyard of Zilong Palace and signed in leisurely. Huh. Ye Chen was surprised that he actually got a treasure that he couldn't use. Although he is the Empress, he is a real man and certainly does not meet the equipment requirements of the Guardian Ring. This ring looks good. Ye Chen took the ring out of the inventory. The ring is of good style, with a purple gem on it. He carefully checked it with his consciousness and found that the ring did not look like a powerful treasure. However, Ye Chen would not have any doubts about the ability of this ring, which was produced by the system. Tisk tisk, it can withstand a semi-saint level attack or 10 emperor level attacks. The defense is very strong. Ye Chen said in his heart. After the power is consumed, the ring can also absorb power and recover by itself, which is more valuable. This thing is good for Hongjian, although the possibility of her encountering danger is very low. System, continue. Sign into Zilong Palace and get the A-level reward of God-level Qin art. Ye Chen looked inside the system inventory and saw a ball of blue light, and there seemed to be a small ancient Qin in the light. System, equip God-level Qin art. Instantly, a large amount of information poured into Ye Chen's mind. In a few breaths, his mastery of various musical instruments reached the God-level, which is a realm above the master, and then the God level. In the Tianyang dynasty, the master level zither players are already extremely powerful and well known throughout the country. God level piano masters only appeared in the Tianyang dynasty in history, but now there is no one in the Xuanhuan dynasty. He actually became a god-level violinist. A smile appeared on Ye Chen's face. He thought this reward was quite good. When lying leisurely, reading a book, and basking in the sun, Xuanhuan would sometimes play piano music next to her. But his level of appreciation is really limited, and he couldn't tell why before. But at this moment, the pleasant sound of the piano suddenly sounded. Luo Hongjian didn't know when she arrived in the back garden of Zilong Palace and played the guqin in a pavilion in the distance. The beauty plays the piano, and the sound is melodious and dreamlike. Ye Chen couldn't help but walked over. After the song ended, Ye Chen happened to arrive next to the pavilion. Pop! Ye Chen clapped his hands and said, Hongjian, your level is pretty good. I think you are close to the level of a master. Luo Hongjian's eyes flashed with surprise. Ye Chen knows how to play the piano? She is indeed at this level. It's ridiculous to pretend to understand when you don't know. Luo Hongjian said coldly that although she asked Ye Chen to stay for a few days, she did not intend to give Ye Chen any good attitude. Hongjian, who are you looking down on? Isn't it just playing the piano? Isn't it enough to have hands? Ye Chen curled his lips and said. Luo Hongjian said angrily, playing the piano is an elegant art. Is it as simple as you say? Ye Chen smiled and said, Hongjian, let's make a bet. If my playing is no worse than what you just played, how about you agree to a condition? Say the conditions first. Luo Hongjian said warily. Although she doesn't think Ye Chen has such a level, she is not afraid of 10,000, just in case. She didn't want to be tricked by Ye Chen again. Ye Chen took out a ring from his pocket. If you lose, wear this ring. You can't take it off at any time. You have to wear it when taking a bath. Luo Hongjian frowned slightly and did not agree immediately. Rings are often used as tokens of love. When she accepted this ring, in the eyes of outsiders, she completely accepted Ye Chen's feelings. Why don't you dare to gamble? Ye Chen smiled. Luo Hongjian snorted, just bet, I just want to see how you can do it. If you don't play as well as me, don't stay on my bed for the next few days. You sleep on the floor instead. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Di. Chapter 15. Ye Chen nodded and said with a smile, Hongjian, if I win, Will you sleep on the bed or on the floor? Luo Hongjian glared at Ye Chen. She is the empress, and he is so bold to ask her whether to sleep on the bed or on the floor. You can't win. Hurry up and start, don't waste time. Luo Hongjian stepped aside. Ye Chen sat down in front of the gherkin, and his hand flicked lightly, and the pleasant sound of the gherkin sounded immediately. Good gherkin. Ye Chen praised. The empress used a good thing. What to play? Ye Chen thought about it, and soon he made up his mind. He had heard the song Feng Xuanhuan more than once in his previous life. He had never seen the score, but now he has the ability of the god-level gherkin, so he can play it directly. Soon, the melodious sound of the gherkin sounded. Luo Hongjian was stunned. An expert can tell whether it is good or not at the first move, and after only listening for a few seconds, Luo Hongjian knew that she had lost. Grandmasters don't have such strength. Is Ye Chen a god-level musician? Luo Hongjian's eyes were full of shock. The level she appreciated was much higher than her playing level. Luo Hongjian had heard more than one grandmaster level performance, and she was sure that no one could compare to Ye Chen. I don't seem to have heard of this song. Luo Hongjian gradually immersed herself in the artistic conception of the song. After the song ended, Luo Hongjian savored it for a long time. Hongjian, comment on it? Ye Chen said with a smile. Luo Hongjian finally came back to her senses. She shook her head slightly. I am not even a grandmaster. I can't comment on such a divine song. I don't seem to have heard of this song. Where does it come from? Ye Chen pointed at himself. This song is called Feng Xuanhuan. Luo Hongjian's heart trembled slightly. The name is good, and the song is also good. You can leave if you win. I want to be alone. Luo Hongjian said as calmly as possible. Ye Chen put down the ring and left with a smile. Luo Hongjian looked at his back with a complicated expression. She originally planned to marry an ordinary empress and put her there as a mascot, but she didn't expect Ye Chen's performance to be far beyond her expectations. Ye Chen, what kind of person are you? Luo Hongjian thought to herself. She became curious about Ye Chen. Ye Chen took out potatoes with a yield of thousands of kilograms per mu without any reluctance. Facing her, a female emperor and a queen mother, Ye Chen was not afraid. Now he actually played a divine song like Feng Xuanhuan. Luo Hongjian was not sure at the beginning, but later she was sure that Ye Chen's piano skills were absolutely at the god level. This ring is not ugly, I will wear it reluctantly. Luo Hongjian took the ring given by Ye Chen and put it on her ring finger. The ring fits very well, as if it was tailor-made for her. The guardian ring has been worn. Do you want to bind it? After binding, it will gradually improve your physical condition. The system voice sounded in Ye Chen's mind. Ye Chen smiled slightly at the corner of his mouth. Luo Hongjian was still quite trustworthy, so he put on the ring. Bind. Ye Chen thought to himself. Luo Hongjian's talent is already very strong. If she can improve her physique, her talent can be even stronger. Bound. 5 days passed in a blink of an eye. During these 5 days, Ye Chen was not polite and slept on Luo Hongjian's fragrant big bed, but unfortunately, Luo Hongjian actually practiced at night these few days, and the dream of sleeping in the same bed did not come true again. In a few days, because of the continuous improvement of her physique, Luo Hongjian successfully broke through to the 6th level of the God King. Ye Chen, you will go back to Fengming Palace from today. I have talked to the Queen Mother, and the matter of eunuch Cao is over. Luo Hongjian said calmly. Even if she is a God King level strongman, Luo Hongjian can't stand it for several days without sleep. Hongjian, you see that I have been here for a few days, and your whole person has become more radiant, and your cultivation has broken through. Are you sure you don't want me to continue living here? Luo Hongjian's face changed slightly. My complexion has improved a little in the past few days, and the speed of cultivation seems to be faster. Is it really because of Yechen? No, no, how could it be possible? Yechen here will only disturb my peace. Luo Hongjian thought to herself, and personally sent Yechen to Fengming Palace. Your Majesty's skin seems to be better. That's for sure. The Empress has been with your Majesty these days. Your Majesty is a woman after all. I heard that women look better when they are moisturized. A maid in Fengming Palace whispered. Luo Hongjian, who had not yet left, had a dark complexion. She wanted to tear off the mouth of anyone who talked nonsense. She and Yechen did nothing. However, no one believed this. Comfortable. It's still safe here. Yechen lay on the rocking chair next to the companion willow, the sun fell on him, and the sun god body quickly absorbed the essence of the sun. The ancient dragon elephant power in his body continued to work, making him stronger every second. 2 months passed like this. Luo Hongjian did not come once. The famine in various places became more and more serious. She was very busy with government affairs during this period. Finally I have reached the 6th level of Divine King. Yechen smiled. I didn't get anything particularly good from signing in for the past 2 months, but the things I got from signing in the Imperial Palace weren't bad. I was improving fast, and after taking some elixirs I got from signing in, it wasn't surprising that I reached the 6th level of Divine King. 2 months ago, Hongjian's cultivation level was at the 6th level of the God King. Now, she may have reached the 7th level of the God King. However, I am at the 9th level of the God King. In terms of combat power, I should have surpassed Hongjian now. Yechen was in a good mood. His strength surpassed Luo Hongjian. If he fought with Luo Hongjian and won, he could have a real wedding night. What would Luo Hongjian think if he just exposed his strength? He was so strong, but he concealed his strength and became the Empress. Luo Hongjian would definitely suspect his intention. Even if Luo Hongjian would not expel him from the Tianyang Imperial Palace, she would definitely send a powerful strong man to keep an eye on him. Life is precious, but love is more precious. If it is for freedom, both can be abandoned. Yechen muttered to himself, intending to keep it a secret from Luo Hongjian for the time being. His wife would not run away there. Since both can be abandoned, why did you become the Empress? Luo Hongjian's faint voice sounded. She did not come here with a big fanfare, but flew over by herself. Yechen glanced at Luo Hongjian and sighed without getting up. Why did I become the Empress? Isn't it because of this damn beauty? The court needs a total of 10,000 handsome men. How can I be missing? Luo Hongjian pulled the corner of her mouth. Yechen was talking nonsense here again. However, after listening to his nonsense, Luo Hongjian's uneasy heart these days unexpectedly calmed down. Yechen, the food shortage in various places is already extremely serious. The potatoes will mature in a month. If we fail, many people will starve to death. Chunlin sent another rocking chair, and Luo Hongjian lay down beside her and said, inside and outside the court, I have been under a lot of pressure these days. Yechen looked at Luo Hongjian. Luo Hongjian was a female emperor, but she was only a young girl of 22 or 23 years old after all. It was not easy for her to bear the huge pressure. Many places have changed to planting potatoes. You are worried that if something goes wrong, there will be less food and many more people will starve to death. Yechen said. Luo Hongjian nodded slightly. She was really worried. When planting in the imperial fields, there are experts who are good at planting to take care of it, and they use formations and spiritual water. There is no such condition for expanding the planting later. What if the yield plummets? Hongjian, don't worry. Even if the yield of potatoes is low, it can't be less than 30 stones. Yechen chuckled. Luo Hongjian sighed softly, I hope so. I hope that fewer people will starve to death in the next month. Ye Chen said, Hanjian, the grain price on the market should be very high now. Some grain merchants should have stored a lot of grain. Yeah. Luo Hanjian nodded slightly, and she rubbed her head painfully. I have ordered all grain merchants to open their warehouses to release grain, but I can't force them to open the supply of grain with a knife. Ye Chen smiled lightly. In fact, it's not that there is no way to make them supply in large quantities. Hanjian, you borrow grain from the grain merchants in the name of the court and promise them to return 1 stone of grain to them after 2 months. Do you think they will borrow it? Luo Hanjian frowned and said, according to the current situation, if there is no turnaround, the price of grain will be higher in 2 months, so of course they are willing to borrow. But how can we pay it back in 2 months? Ye Chen smiled and said, in a month, potatoes will be available in large quantities. How can the people fill their stomachs and buy grain at sky-high prices? The price of grain will inevitably plummet. Hanjian, if you borrow grain, the government grain store will sell it at 80% of the current price. If it is all sold out within a month, the people will not starve to death. In 2 months, you will buy grain on the market at a much lower price and pay it back. There are at least tens of millions of taels of silver in profit. Luo Hanjian looked at Ye Chen in shock. She was troubled by the problem. How could she make tens of millions of taels of silver from Ye Chen? Ye Chen, if you succeed, I will agree to one condition of yours. Luo Hanjian disappeared instantly after she finished speaking. She had to hurry up and implement it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Di. Chapter 16. There are 7 major grain merchants in the Tianyang dynasty. In addition to the official grain, the 7 major grain merchants control more than 80% of the country's grain transactions. 5 of the 7 major grain merchants are headquartered in Tianyang Emperor City. Luo Hanjian sent out the order and soon met the chief executives of the 5 major grain merchants headquartered in Tianyang Emperor City. See Your Majesty. The leaders of the 5 major grain merchants saluted. On the surface, they were frightened, but in their hearts, they didn't think so. In their opinion, Luo Hanjian definitely wanted them to sell more grain. But the later the price goes up, the higher the price goes. If you sell it early, it means losing money for them, and they are not happy. Luo Hanjian is the emperor, so she must give her some face if she speaks in person, but they won't give Luo Hanjian too much face. They operate according to the law. Can Luo Hanjian still send troops to deal with them? No gifts, please give me a seat. Luo Hanjian said calmly, there is famine in the world and people are in dire straits. I invite you to come over and want to do business with you. Your Majesty, please speak. One of the old men spoke. Luo Hanjian said, I will borrow grain from you, as much as I can borrow, and I will return it to you after 1 month at 1.3 times, or I will pay you money according to the market price at that time. The 5 people's eyes lit up. According to their estimates, the food shortage will become more serious in 1 month and prices will be higher. Luo Hanjian borrowed food and would pay them 3 times 1.3 times when the time came. They would make a lot of money. Your Majesty, are you serious about this? Another person said with excitement. Luo Hanjian looked over with cold eyes, and the mighty imperial power was instantly released, and the man suddenly broke out in cold sweat. I am the king of a country, and I can deceive you with my golden words. Your Majesty, forgive me. The man quickly knelt down. Luo Hanjian said, get up. The disaster is urgent. If you want to borrow food, lend it to the local governments as quickly as possible. By the way, unless you don't have food, you still have to sell the food according to the original amount. The expressions of the 5 grain merchant chiefs changed slightly. They promised to sell the amount of grain every day, but if the government sells grain at 80% price, they will definitely have to lower the price to sell it. Your Majesty is kind-hearted, and I will lend all the food of the Zheng family to your Majesty. Your Majesty, I will lend all the food of the Liang clan in Longzi to your Majesty. His Majesty. The 5 grain merchants spoke one after another and expressed their willingness to lend out all the grain. In their opinion, they will definitely make a profit in a month. They actually knew about the government's large-scale promotion of potato cultivation, but they didn't take it seriously. Even if the yield of potatoes is higher than that of grain, how much can it be used to replace grain? Unless the potato yield reaches more than 30 stones. But is this possible? The Tianyang dynasty's grain output is generally only 4 or 5 stones per mu. Isn't it nonsense that potato output is more than 6 times that of grain output? Okay, I promise you, I will pay you back the food after 1 month, or pay 1 or 3 times the market price. Luo Hongjian said solemnly. She said and had someone bring pen and ink. Luo Hongjian wrote 5 eus with her own hands, and then stamped each with her imperial seal. Your Majesty, you don't have to be like this. Yes, Your Majesty, we definitely believe in Your Majesty. The 5 grain merchants said so, but Luo Hongjian gave them an IOU, which made them feel more relieved. Hurry up and act. Luo Hongjian said in a deep voice. The 5 grain merchants resigned, and soon they were flying pigeons to pass messages to other places. Granaries in various places quickly lent all their grain to the government, and the government immediately sold the grain at 80% of the current market price. The sales volume is much larger than before. Your Majesty has mercy. I heard that His Majesty buys grain at 1.3 times the price and then sells it to us at 20% off. Whoever speaks ill of His Majesty again is our enemy. Countless people talked about it, and Luo Hongjian's reputation among the people, which had fallen a lot, quickly recovered. Even more than before. Does Luo Hongjian think she can survive the disaster this way? She is simply naive. Yes, the borrowed grain must be repaid. What will Luo Hongjian have to pay back after a month? If you eat freely, the grain will be consumed faster. The price of grain on the market will definitely be higher in a month. The other 2 major grain merchants got together. They had no intention of lending food to Luo Hongjian. Even if they need to sell some grain at a 20% discount now, they are willing to carry on like this. You might earn more if you carry it for a month. Time passed day by day, and as the potatoes in the field gradually grew, Luo Hongjian felt relieved. The land around the Tianyang dynasty was not the best, but she estimated that the yield per mu would not be less than 60 stones. Ye Chen, on behalf of all the people in the world, thank you. Luo Hongjian came to Ye Chen again, she smiled and saluted to Ye Chen. Ye Chen did not dodge and accepted Luo Hongjian's gift. Potatoes are a good thing for making a fortune. What if he takes them out and accepts a gift from Luo Hongjian? Hongjian, the people must have concerns about a new food like potatoes. You'd better organize a potato feast for the officials before harvesting, so as to dispel the people's concerns. Ye Chen said. Luo Hongjian smiled and said, that's what I meant. This time I came here to invite you to the banquet. The harem cannot interfere with politics, but it is no problem to attend such a banquet. Ye Chen's eyes lit up. He has no interest in eating potatoes. But such a banquet will definitely not be held in Tianji Palace, nor will it be held in Chaotian Palace. He can check in somewhere new. Hongjian, where is the banquet held? Ye Chen asked directly. If it wasn't a good place, he wouldn't be interested. Luo Hongjian smiled and said, I plan to invite some people from the private sector, and the location will be Juxian Palace. Juxian Palace is not inside the palace, but outside the palace. It is a place where the emperor recruits talents and enjoys himself with the people. Every year, the emperor would meet some extraordinary people here, and many of them won the emperor's favor. Xuanhuan Palace? Okay. Ye Chen nodded. Of course he knew this place. Although it was not within the Tianyang Emperor's palace, it was still an extremely important place. You should get some good treasures if you sign in here. The time is set for tomorrow. We will set off after the morning. Be prepared. Luo Hongjian left after speaking. I'll leave the palace tomorrow. Maybe I'll have a chance to leave and go to my hometown to deal with those horse thieves. Ye Chen's eyes flashed with cold light. A month ago, his cultivation level was at the 6th level of the God King, and his combat power was at the 9th level of the God King. Now he has the combat power of the God King level. When the Emperor travels, there will definitely be powerful people following him, but with his current strength and the fact that he has something like the Cloak of the Holy Hidden, he might be able to leave quietly. Most of the energy of the strong men who go out to protect Luo Hongjian will definitely be on Luo Hongjian. Father, mother, I will definitely avenge you. Ye Chen murmured to himself. The horse thieves who attacked their village were very strong, and now they have grown even stronger. However, in the eyes of Ye Chen today, they are just rubbish, and God Emperor level strength is no joke. In the entire Tianyang Emperor's palace, there would be no more than 20 powerful men of the God Emperor level. In the entire Tianyang dynasty, with a population of tens of billions, there will definitely be no more than 50 God Emperor level experts. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Di. Chapter 17. There were 3,000 black dragon guards at the front and back, and there were many Jinyi guards protecting them secretly. Luo Hongjian's dragon chariot and Ye Chen's phoenix chariot left the Tianyang Palace together. Oh, I'm afraid it'll be a little difficult to sneak out. Ye Chen sighed secretly in his heart. There were 2 God Emperor level strongmen guarding her on the surface, and Luo Hongjian was accompanied by an old eunuch with terrifying strength. In addition, the commander of the Black Dragon Guards is also following him. He is also at the level of the God Emperor. There must be other powerful guards of the God Emperor level secretly there. There are more powerful people at the level of God King. And as long as there is any abnormal movement, at least 10 powerful men at the level of the God Emperor will rush over to support within 2 minutes. Within 10 minutes, at least hundreds of God King level experts will rush over to support. Not long after, Ye Chen and the others arrived at Xuanhuan Palace. Several kilometers around the Xuanhuan Palace are being closely monitored. If there is any sign of trouble, the Jinyi guards will take action in secret. Welcome to your Majesty and the Emperor and Empress. Many officials, many relatives of the Emperor, and many celebrities were already present. When Ye Chen and others got off the carriage, they all immediately bent down to salute. No gift. Luo Hongjian raised her hand and said softly, the mighty imperial power was released from her body, and her temperament was extremely noble. Like a goddess descending to earth, she is as graceful as ever. I came to Xuanhuan Palace this time, firstly to recruit talents for the empire, and secondly, I want to taste delicious food with you. Talented people should not miss opportunities. Luo Hongjian's voice spread far away. Those with ability can usually come to the Xuanhuan building to obtain the Xuanhuan order. When the emperor comes, they will have the opportunity to show their talents. Everyone, follow me in. Luo Hongjian was in front, Ye Chen was a little behind, and the rest entered the Xuanhuan Palace together at the back. Xuanhuan Palace covers a large area. There is a huge circular platform on the first floor, with a diameter of dozens of meters. There are many seats around the round table, and there is a low table in front of each seat. The seats on the first floor were reserved for celebrities and some lower-ranking officials. There are also many seats and tables on the second floor, which are larger and more exquisite. The seats on the second floor are for the emperor, his relatives, and senior officials. With Luo Hongjian as the empress and Ye Chen as the empress, they naturally sit in the best seats. How can Ye Chen and Hida become the emperor and empress? The position of emperor and empress should have been mine. A young man in a brocade robe downstairs gritted his teeth. His family was strong and he also participated in the election that day, but he was eliminated in the first round because of his strong family background. In his opinion, Ye Chen was inferior to him in every aspect. Regardless of talent, strength, or family background, he felt that he was much better than Ye Chen. Everyone, you may be my courtiers, relatives of the emperor, or celebrities from the empire. It is rare for everyone to get together like this. If you have anything to say to me, you can speak freely. I won't be punished for my words today. Luo Hongjian spoke slowly. Your Majesty, I don't accept it. Looking at Luo Hongjian's beautiful face, the young man in brocade robes couldn't help it. He stood up impulsively. He doesn't want to miss today's opportunity. Who are you, and why are you dissatisfied? Luo Hongjian looked over, and many others also looked at the young man in brocade robes. Ye Chen also looked over. The young man in the golden robe took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, Your Majesty, my name is Liang Dong, from the Liang family in Longzi. Your Majesty chose Ye Chen to be the empress. I don't accept this. How can Ye Chen and Hida become the empress? Ye Chen was stunned. He just wanted to come over quietly and sign in. Who was provoked? At the beginning, someone actually criticized him. Luo Hongjian's face turned cold, but she had just said that she would not be punished for her words today, so Junwu said it. I think the emperor and empress are very good. Luo Hongjian said in a deep voice. At first, she didn't think so at all, but now she really thinks that Ye Chen is a good empress. Read a lot of books, have good knowledge, and often have good poems. God-level piano skills, the sound of the piano will not stop lingering for 3 days. Being kind and generous, he took out the potatoes and increased the welfare of the servants. As a matter of fact, I spend most of my time lying around and basking in the sun, and I never get involved in politics. Except that she often wants to take advantage of her and is a bit presumptuous in her words and deeds. Luo Hongjian thinks everything else is fine. Your Majesty has great ambitions for the world. He just married an emperor and empress just to silence the ceremony officials. There are rumors in the palace that Your Majesty will not meet the emperor and empress even once in a month or two. Your Majesty, why don't you choose an emperor and a queen? Liang Dong said loudly. Many people are talking about it. Most people don't know about the harem. Liang Dong must have spent a lot of money to know. There are many people in the palace, and as long as the money is in place, you can buy a lot of information. The emperor and the empress and I are very affectionate. The rumors are untrue. I have no intention of choosing another emperor and empress. There is no need to mention this matter again. Luo Hongjian frowned slightly and felt annoyed. Liang Dong said unwillingly, Your Majesty, Empress Ye Chen is a talented person in chess, calligraphy, and martial arts. As long as there is one skill that surpasses me, I will accept it. If he is not as good as me in any skill, Your Majesty likes him and it is unconvincing. Ye Chen glanced at Liang Dong. Young people are so brave. He has been signing in the palace for so long, and he has reached a god-level in any of the subjects of piano, chess, calligraphy, and painting. Scholarship. Behind him stood many literary masters from 5,000 years ago. Learn about martial arts and god-emperor level strength. Your Majesty, in fact, it doesn't take that much trouble to prove our love. We can just kiss in public. As he said that, Ye Chen stood up and walked to Luo Hongjian. Luo Hongjian gritted her teeth. Ye Chen wanted to take advantage of her again. Empress, this occasion is not appropriate now. Luo Hongjian said. Liang Dong sneered in his heart. He concluded that Luo Hongjian must have no relationship with Ye Chen and would definitely not have such an intimate behavior with Ye Chen. Your Majesty, you and the Empress are husband and wife, and we don't have children here. I think it's appropriate. Liang Dong said, or Your Majesty can also explain that you have no feelings for the Empress. Your Majesty can choose another Empress. Ye Chen secretly gave Liang Dong a thumbs up. Good brother, this assist is good. The next second, Luo Hongjian hooked Ye Chen's neck, and she kissed Ye Chen directly. Ye Chen's eyes glared. Good guy, sneak attack. Ye Chen immediately launched a counterattack. But he had just broken through the soft gate, and before he had time to capture the city, Luo Hongjian quickly let him go. I am in love with the Emperor and Empress, no one is allowed to criticize the Emperor and Empress again. Luo Hongjian snorted, her face was a little red, she was the Empress, not an ordinary woman, but just now was her first kiss. She had kissed Ye Chen's face before, that didn't count. Liang Dong's face was extremely ugly, Luo Hongjian actually kissed Ye Chen, how could this be possible? Ye Chen is just a waste. As an emperor, Luo Hongjian married an empress to deal with one for the sake of the great cause, and then changed it later. This is not a big problem, but she kissed Ye Chen in public, and it will be much more difficult to change the emperor and empress in the future. Empress, you can choose any one of the following: music, chess, calligraphy, painting, talent, martial arts. Can we exchange ideas? Your Majesty borrowed grain from our Liang family. As long as you win any one of them, Your Majesty will not have to pay back the grain you borrowed from our Liang family. Liang Dong spoke again. Just now, he received a message from his father, asking him to continue to confront Ye Chen. Even if Luo Hongjian cannot withdraw, it is not bad to embarrass Ye Chen. Ye Chen sent a message to Luo Hongjian, who did the Liang family support to become the emperor. Prince Mu. Luo Hongjian sent a message. Ye Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. Prince Mu was the original eldest prince, and his biological mother was Queen Mother Du. Queen Mother Du did not come today, and Prince Mu did not come either, but Prince Mu's younger brother, Prince Changping, was present. Prince Changping was the original fourth prince, the second son of Queen Mother Du. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Di. Chapter 18. Ye Chen spoke slowly, Liang Dong, Your Majesty borrowed food to alleviate the disaster. Your Liang family lent food, which can be regarded as a service to the court. I can win you any way I choose, and I don't have to pay back the borrowed food. Wouldn't this put Your Majesty in an unkind place? It's okay not to gamble in this game. Luo Hongjian glanced at Ye Chen, a look of surprise flashed in her eyes. She thought Ye Chen had agreed directly. If you win like that, there will indeed be some bad effects. What the Empress said is true. Liang Dong, you are still young. Don't make fun of such things. Luo Hongjian said calmly. Liang Dong sneered in his heart, he didn't think he would lose at all. He had already found out who Ye Chen was. He was just a small person from a small place. What a waste. He must know nothing about music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. He, Liang Dong, has only learned martial arts. He has read poetry and books since he was a child, and his cultivation has reached the Ningyang level. Isn't it easy to defeat Ye Chen? Empress, if everyone can appreciate your peerless talent, it will be worth the loss of a little food for our Liang family. Liang Dong's father also arrived here, and he smiled and spoke. Prince Changping told him that Ye Chen had offended the Queen Mother. If they can embarrass Ye Chen, or even make Ye Chen lose his position as Empress, the Queen Mother will help make Liang Dong the Empress. Even if they don't succeed, the Liang family can still be appreciated by the Queen Mother. Empress, since the Liang family has such an idea, why not help the Liang family? Yes, the Empress, we all want to appreciate the Empress's peerless talent. Without her peerless talent, His Majesty would not have chosen the Empress. Empress, Please let us open our eyes. Many other people spoke one after another. Among the royal relatives present, there were not a few who supported Prince Mu and the others. They all want to see Ye Chen's jokes. Liang Dong raised his voice again at this time. Empress, Liang Dong, petition again. If the Empress wins, our Liang family will donate 1 million taels of silver for disaster relief. Everyone's eyes showed surprise. 1 million taels of silver was not a small amount. If all the food does not need to be repaid, and another million taels of silver are donated, it will definitely be a thorn in the side of the Liang family. The Empress is benevolent and righteous. I think she won't refuse. Liang Dong said loudly. He sneered in his heart. How could he refuse Ye Chen in such a situation? Ye Chen is still unwilling. When the news spreads, a hat that does not care about the life and death of the people will have to be put on Ye Chen's head. So, I must agree. Ye Chen spoke slowly. Liang Dong smiled and said, Empress, everyone is waiting to see your peerless talent. Empress, if you choose other aspects, you can compete directly. If you choose talent, we have to move to the high platform. Sound transmission can be isolated in the high platform. Some people come here to recommend themselves. They are good at poetry and so on. If they can't isolate the sound transmission, they can cheat. Ye Chen stood up and said with a smile, Liang Dong, let me choose my talents and study. Since you let me choose, you can choose any one of poems, lyrics, and couplets, otherwise I will take advantage of you. After saying that, Ye Chen walked down from the second floor, and Xuanhuan and the four of them followed Ye Chen. Empress, I'm not polite, I choose poetry. Let's give each other questions. Liang Dong said and jumped onto the high platform gracefully. With his Ningyang level cultivation, this was easy for him. There were stairs next to the high platform, and Ye Chen slowly entered the high platform. Luo Hanjian looked a little nervous in her heart. She knew that Ye Chen was good at poetry, but it would be much more difficult to ask questions in public. Please ask the Emperor and Empress to come up with a question. Liang Dong said with confidence. Ye Chen shook his head, I don't know how to play it very well, so you can come up with the questions first. Reciting poems and writing poems is a thing for rich men. Ye Chen was just an ordinary person in the city before. Liang Dong's eyes flickered. Emperor and Empress, if that's the case, then I'll come up with the title first. Ask the Empress and Empress to compose a 7-character poem. The poem must contain the 4 characters spring, rain, grass, and willow. Luo Hanjian frowned slightly. Liang Dong's question had so many requirements, which basically eliminated the possibility of cheating. It turns out that 9 out of 10 poems I have written and read are useless. A poem must have 7 words. This is the first condition. Also includes rain, grass, spring, and willow. That adds up to 5 conditions. There are many people in Xuanhuan building who are good at writing poems, but when they heard Liang Dong's question, they also frowned. Empress, how about we set the time limit on 1 stick of incense? It's too long and everyone will be impatient to wait. Liang Dong said proudly. He didn't believe that Ye Chen could complete this question. Ye Chen smiled lightly and said, Liang Dong, I will leave you the time of a stick of incense. My poem has been completed. Listen carefully. The light rain on the sky street is as moist as butter, and the color of grass looks far away but is not there up close. The best thing about spring is that it is better than the smoke and willows that fill the imperial capital. Liang Dong was startled, so fast. Rain, grass, spring, willows, they all have it. This poem is amazing. This poem by the Emperor and Empress can be passed down from generation to generation. After carefully tasting Ye Chen's poem, some people in the Xuanhuan building were shocked that they could write such a powerful poem in such a short time. I still underestimated this guy. Luo Hanjian relaxed, reciting Ye Chen's poem silently in her heart, with admiration in her eyes. She can also write poetry, but she cannot compose such a poem. Not to mention that it was done under certain conditions and in such a short time. Liang Dong's face became very ugly, but his appreciation ability was still good. Ye Chen, this is a poem that will last forever. How could he do it? Liang Dong, it's time for me to come up with the question. Just compose a poem under the same conditions. Since you set such conditions, I think you should have a draft in mind. Ye Chen said with a smile. Liang Dong's body froze. How could he have any clues? If King Changping hadn't wanted them to target Ye Chen, he wouldn't have been so cruel. This time he shot himself in the foot. I. Liang Dong searched his intestines and scraped his belly. If it weren't for Ye Chen Jinyu in front of him, he might be able to write a passable poem in a quarter of an hour. Now he could only deny himself again and again in his mind, and in a short time there was sweat on his forehead. Liang Dong, come down. This poem by the Emperor and Empress is enough to be passed down to the world. You can't write a better poem. Liang Dong's father said at this time, his heart was bleeding. He actually lost like this. There is no suspense about losing. If the difference is not big, they can still quibble and play the second and third games. Now there is no point even comparing the second and third games, the gap is so big that they are desperate. Thinking of the countless grains lent and the millions of taels of silver promised to be donated, Liang Dong's father had the urge to vomit blood. Empress, I lost. Liang Dong said dejectedly, what he was best at in the academy was poetry, but he didn't expect to be beaten up by Ye Chen. Ye Chen smiled slightly and said, you, the Liang family, have also made contributions to the victims of disasters all over the world. Even though you are defeated, you are still honored. Some people present look strange. If you lose, you will lose. Even if you lose, you are still proud of yourself. The Liang family provoked the Emperor and the Empress, but was beaten by the Emperor. This was a joke to the Liang family. Empress, I still want to compete. Liang Dong gritted his teeth and said, since the Empress is so talented, she should be good at playing chess, calligraphy, and painting. If you win, Empress, our Liang family will donate another 1,000,000 taels of silver. If you lose, there will be no conditions. The Liang family's reputation cannot be lost like this. Liang Dong knows that he must find a way to restore the Liang family's reputation. If Ye Chen doesn't compete, it means that he can't compete with him in piano, chess, calligraphy, and painting. The Liang family can save some of their reputation. If Liang Dong wins, the Liang family can regain most of its reputation. Ye Chen looked at Luo Hongjian. Luo Hongjian instantly understood what Ye Chen meant, and she said calmly, Liang Dong, I and the Empress cannot take advantage of your Liang family. Liang Dong, if you win, you can take back the 1,000,000 taels of silver that your Liang family promised just now, and the donated 1,000,000 taels will come from my inner treasury. Liang Dong's eyes lit up, as per your majesty. If he wins, he can recover the 1,000,000 taels of silver, and at least the family's losses will be less. Ye Chen said softly, Liang Dong, His Majesty has said so. It's hard for me to refuse, but I remind you that you might lose this game. If you lose, your Liang family will have to pay 210,000 taels of silver. Liang Dong's father laughed loudly and said, don't worry, the Empress, our Liang family can still afford this little money. Liang Dong's father has great confidence in Liang Dong. Ye Chen comes from a humble background and is busy making a living. He may have read some books and is good at poetry, but playing music, chess, calligraphy, and painting need to be cultivated from an early age. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Di. Chapter 19. Ye Chen smiled and nodded, that's very good. For the sake of the people of the world, I will try it again. Liang Dong, let me compete with you on chess skills. Luo Hongjian was startled. Comparing chess skills? Ye Chen has god-level piano skills. She originally thought that Ye Chen must be competing with Liang Dong to learn piano skills, so he would definitely win. As a result, Ye Chen actually competed in chess. She had never seen Ye Chen play chess. If the internal treasury has to pay 1 million taels of silver, it will be a lot of pressure for Luo Hongjian. Empress, let's decide the outcome in one game. Liang Dong is confident and authentic. He often plays chess. In terms of chess skills, he is confident that he has a master level. Come here, put the chessboard on. Luo Hongjian ordered that Ye Chen had already promised to compete in chess skills, so she couldn't let Ye Chen change it anymore. Soon the chessboard was placed, Liang Dong and Ye Chen sat opposite each other, and the chess game started immediately. Everyone watched from a distance. Even the civil servants present are not bad at it. Their eyesight is excellent and they can clearly see the trend of the chess game. Liang Dong will lose. In less than 2 minutes, Prime Minister Pei Hong made a direct assertion. Hearing what he said, everyone around him was shocked. Pei Hong was a master-level figure in chess. Since he said so, Liang Dong will lose 90% of the time. Prime Minister Pei, you asserted that Liang Dong will lose just after the game started. Isn't that a bit arbitrary? Luo Yuan Liang, the former fourth prince and now the king of Changping, frowned. Prime Minister Pei Hong supports Luo Hongjian. Pei Hong said calmly, if there is not much difference in strength between Liang Dong and the Empress, I would not dare to say the truth, but the gap in chess skills between Liang Dong and the Empress is too obvious. The Empress chess skills should be better than the truth. Hiss. Hearing what Pei Hong said, more people were shocked. Pei Hong's chess skills are recognized as great, and there may not be anyone in Tianyang Emperor City who can beat him with his master-level chess skills. Now he thinks he is inferior. This guy is really a treasure. Where did you get this thing? Luo Hongjian was surprised. According to the results of her investigation, Ye Chen should have never been in contact with him before. There should have been no contact when we arrived at the palace. This. In just 5 minutes, sweat continued to break out on Liang Dong's forehead. He didn't notice it at first, but now he felt that there were murderous intentions and traps everywhere on the chessboard. After walking a few more steps, Liang Dong surrendered with a pale face. Empress, I lost. Liang Dong was stunned. Originally, I was full of confidence and felt that I could crush Ye Chen in every aspect, but I didn't expect that my talent and chess skills were crushed one after another. Ye Chen stood up and said with a smile, Liang Dong, since I have won, the 2 million taels of silver must be received as soon as possible. Ugh. Liang Dong's throat felt sweet, and a mouthful of old blood poured into his throat, and he swallowed it hard. The borrowed grain does not need to be repaid, and with the addition of 2 million taels of silver, the Liang family this time cannot be described as broken. I am afraid that the Liang family will not be able to recover in less than 10 years. Yes, Empress. Liang Dong gritted his teeth and said, he wished he could kill Ye Chen immediately, but he didn't have the courage. Ye Chen is the Empress. If he kills Ye Chen, the entire Liang family will be confiscated and exterminated. And it's to kill the 9 clan. The Emperor is mighty. Someone shouted. Suddenly many other people followed and shouted. Ye Chen won 2 games in a row, and many people's views on Ye Chen changed a lot. Ye Chen smiled and nodded. He got off the platform and returned to the 2nd floor. Luo Hongjian's eyes were filled with brilliance. Others don't know it, but she knows that Ye Chen also has god-level piano skills. It's difficult to reach the extreme level of any of these things. It's a pity that Ye Chen's cultivation level is too low. If his cultivation level is good, it would be perfect. Luo Hongjian thought to herself. She was certain that Ye Chen's cultivation level was low. She had personally checked Ye Chen's condition. There are even powerful men at the level of God Emperor who have checked Ye Chen's situation. How did Luo Hongjian know that Ye Chen had something like the hidden saint's cloak, and even a semi-saint level expert couldn't detect the abnormality? Prime Minister Pei, let the wise men enter. Luo Hongjian ordered. Hundreds of wise men who had received the Juxian order entered the Juxian Palace. They specialize in different directions. Some have very high martial arts values, some have the ability to govern the world, some have superb medical skills, some have good poetry and songs. Juxian Palace can harvest some talents for the court every year. Your Majesty, ordinary people are good at the art of war. Your Majesty, the common people are good at painting. The wise men who entered showed their talents one after another, some were really talented, and some were just superficial. After looking at Ye Chen for about 10 times, he lost interest. System, sign in twice. Ye Chen secretly thought. Juxian Palace is a very important place, and since it is the first time he comes here, he feels that there should be good rewards. Sign into the Juxian Palace and receive an S-level reward, the void-breaking eye, which can see through all illusions below the semi-saint level. Nice one. A smile appeared on Ye Chen's face. He now has the strength of the first level of the God Emperor, and it is not easy to hide it from his eyes, but stronger people, monsters, etc. who are stronger than him can hide it from him. Now that he has the Posu Divine Eye, even monsters at the level of the Great Emperor cannot hide from his eyes. Sign into Juxian Palace and receive a reward, the Demon Refining Pot, fake, which can refine monsters up to the Emperor level. Ye Chen was also very satisfied with the second reward. System, equip the void-breaking Divine Eye. Ye Chen thought to himself. He closed his eyes first, so as not to let anyone see anything unusual. In the blink of an eye, the void-breaking Divine Eye was fully equipped. With the saint hidden cloak, there was no abnormality at all. Opening his eyes, Ye Chen swept his eyes. Originally, he didn't know the specific cultivation of some strong men, but now he could see it clearly. For example, the old eunuch next to Luo Hongjian actually had the cultivation of the 8th level of the Divine Emperor. When Ye Chen's eyes swept over the gathering area of the wise men, his eyes condensed. In Ye Chen's eyes, one of the old men had 2 looks, one of which was naturally the face of the old man who was currently revealed. The other look was very scary, it was a huge poisonous scorpion with a ferocious and terrifying look. Scorpion spirit. This guy has the cultivation of the 9th level of the Divine Emperor. Ye Chen secretly took a breath of cold air. There are monsters in the Juxiao continent, he has known this for a long time, but monsters are often in deep mountains and old forests. This scorpion demon not only came to Tianyang Imperial City, but also came to this Juxian building. The masters in the palace must have powerful treasures. Logically, the scorpion demon of the 9th level of the Divine Emperor should not be able to hide from them, but now its true face has not been discovered. This guy may have a treasure that enhances disguise. Ye Chen thought to himself. The cultivation of the 9th level of the Divine Emperor, coupled with a powerful treasure, is indeed possible to hide from all the strong men present. It's a pity that he met Ye Chen, and Ye Chen happened to get the reward of the void-breaking Divine Eye. Even the demon of the Emperor level can't hide from Ye Chen's eyes. Damn, how should I remind Hongjian and the others? Ye Chen smiled bitterly in his heart. There are several strong men at the Divine Emperor level present, and even more strong men at the Divine King level. If he said that the old man was a scorpion demon, he would definitely not be able to escape. But how to explain it later? With a mere acquired level of cultivation, even if he has a powerful treasure, it is impossible to see through the demon of the 9th level of the Divine Emperor. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Di. Chapter 20. Perhaps sensing Ye Chen's gaze, The scorpion-transformed old man looked at Ye Chen. Ye Chen's eyes naturally moved to the other person, and he stared at him for a few seconds. The old man withdrew his gaze. If Luo Hongjian stared at him for a while, he might suspect that Luo Hongjian had discovered his identity. Ye Chen only has acquired level of cultivation. The scorpion spirit from the 9th level of the God Emperor came here secretly. Could it be that he wants to assassinate the beauty? Ye Chen secretly thought. But the success rate of this is not high. Luo Hongjian's own strength is much inferior to it, but the old eunuch next to Luo Hongjian has the cultivation level of the 8th level of the God Emperor. Even if the old eunuch cannot defeat the scorpion spirit of the 9th level of the God Emperor, he will definitely have no problem resisting it for a while. There are several other God King level powerhouses here in Xuanhuan Palace, and there are even dozens of God King level powerhouses. There are thousands of black dragon guards around, they are not just decorations. Their own cultivation level is a little lower, but they are all equipped with powerful demon-breaking bows, and even the strong men at the 9th level of the God Emperor who come to attack them can't stand it. To put it bluntly, even if the scorpion spirit succeeded, it would be impossible for it to escape from Tianyang Emperor City. There are other God Emperor level experts in Tianyang Emperor City. And there is a great emperor in Xuanhuan Emperor City. Time passed by, and the old man transformed from the scorpion spirit was ranked 73rd, and he entered the high platform. Your Majesty, the Emperor and Empress, I am quite strong, but I want to enter the palace and become a father-in-law. The old man transformed from the scorpion spirit spoke, and as he spoke, a God King level aura erupted from his body. Many people had surprise in their eyes. A person at the level of a God King is already very powerful. What do you think when he joins the palace as a eunuch? Why? Luo Hongjian asked doubtfully. The old man smiled bitterly and said, "Back to your Majesty, I have offended a powerful enemy. He is also good at tracking. He almost died several times after escaping for more than 10 years. If he enters the palace, his life can be saved. I already have a son and a daughter, so I don't have to run around in the palace. I can practice with peace of mind. In this way, it may be possible to break through to the level of the God Emperor in the future." The aura erupted by the old man was the 7th level of the God King. Luo Hongjian was a little hesitant. The characters on the 7th level of the God King were already very strong, and it was indeed possible to reach the level of the God King in the future. Any expert at the level of a God Emperor is extremely precious. But the eunuchs in the palace often enter the palace from a young age, and the risk of entering the palace for a person of this level is much greater. Your Majesty, if it doesn't work, forget it. I'll go to other countries to have a look. The old man turned around and prepared to leave. Slow. Luo Hongjian spoke, "Since you are willing to leave the palace and enter the palace, I should believe you. A strong man at the level of a God King is willing to commit suicide. This is a great sincerity. As for the problem of this old man being hunted down, it is not a problem at all for Luo Hongjian and the Tianyang dynasty. As long as he enters the palace, he will end the world of mortals, and his enemies will naturally not care about him anymore." Ye Chen frowned secretly, and Luo Hongjian agreed. The opponent revealed the 7th level of cultivation of the God King, so this card is better. With such strength, it is entirely possible to become a God King level powerhouse in the future, and the strength of the God King's 7th level will not make any waves in the palace. However, this old man is a strong man in the 9th level of the God Emperor. Your Majesty, why not let him follow me? There are no strong men in my Fengming Palace. Ye Chen smiled and said. He goes to Fengming Palace. Luo Hongjian frowned slightly. The opponent had the 7th level cultivation of the God King. If he wanted to kill Ye Chen, it would be an instant matter. Ye Chen said, "Your Majesty, with his 7th level cultivation as a God King, it is impossible for him to be a dead warrior. Even if he has any purpose in entering the palace, It is absolutely impossible to kill me. My Fengming Palace just lacks a powerful master. Luo Hongjian thought for a while and nodded slightly. I'm sure. Luo Hongjian also felt that it was absolutely impossible for this old man to be targeting Ye Chen. Although Ye Chen has the status of an emperor and empress, after all, how long has it been since Ye Chen became an emperor? Killing Ye Chen would not guarantee that one of his own would become the empress, and if found out, he would be punished by the 9 clans. Thank you, Your Majesty. Ye Chen smiled. Thank you, Your Majesty. Thank you, Empress. The old man said quickly. Luo Hongjian said quietly, come here, take him to purify himself. Only after purification can he go to the imperial palace. Yes. Immediately a eunuch took the old man and left. This old man was originally transformed into a scorpion spirit. Whether he was pure or not, it actually had no effect on him. In another hour, all the wise men performed their performance once again. About 30% of the people passed and were specially recruited by the emperor. What awaits them next is their meteoric rise. All the wise men who pass stay, the rest leave. The old eunuch beside Luo Hongjian said in a loud voice, and the 70 or so people who failed to pass left helplessly. Luo Hongjian stood up, she smiled lightly and said, everyone, it's noon, everyone must be hungry. Everyone can eat something new today. After saying that, Luo Hongjian clapped her hands, and immediately a large number of servants brought out dishes one after another. It all has something to do with potatoes. Braised potatoes, beef stew with potatoes, shredded potatoes, mashed potatoes, baked potatoes, and more. Everyone, give it a try. After Luo Hongjian finished speaking, she started eating first, and the others hurriedly saw Luo Hongjian moving her chopsticks. What is this? It seems to taste pretty good. Why is there no rice? Many people murmured. They were already hungry, so they ate a lot. The dishes were made by the imperial chefs in the palace, so they certainly tasted good. Everyone, are you full? Half an hour later, Luo Hongjian smiled slightly. Everyone nodded. Although they didn't eat rice, they all felt full at this moment. A big potato appeared in Luo Hongjian's hand. Everyone, this is what we eat. It is the potato that I have ordered to promote planting. It can be used as the staple food during famine. Your Majesty, how is the yield of this thing? Pei Hong asked hurriedly. If the yield of this thing is high, then the famine in the Tianyang dynasty will be greatly alleviated. Luo Hongjian smiled and said, everyone, the yield of potatoes per mu can normally reach 50 stones. Even in places where the land is not fertile, it should be able to reach 30 stones, and the highest can reach 70 or 80 stones. Hiss. Many people in the Xuanhuan palace took a breath of cold air. This yield is too scary. The grain output of the Tianyang dynasty was only 4 or 5 stones, and this yield reached 10 times the grain output. The heads of the other 4 grain merchants besides the Liang family felt their heads buzzing. If there is such a production volume, the price of grain will definitely plummet. The current grain price has reached more than 15 times the normal price. In order to speculate on the grain price, they bought a lot of grain at 3 or 4 times, or even 4 or 5 times the price. If the price plummets, they will lose money. Even if Your Majesty loses 3 times, if the grain price falls below 3 times the normal price, you will lose money. Several grain merchants wanted to die. Luo Hongjian is the emperor, and the king is not joking. She said this in public, so it is certain that such a production volume can be achieved, and there is no need to question this. As long as a large number of potatoes come out, who would be willing to eat expensive grain if there are cheap potatoes to eat? It is inevitable that the grain price will fall below 3 times the original normal price. The possibility of doubling is also very high. Even because there is an additional staple food, the grain price may fall below the original price, and several of their major grain merchants will lose money. The government borrowed their grain and sold it at 80% of the market price, and then returned them the low-priced grain. The difference in the middle is huge. The head of a large grain merchant made a quick calculation and knew that Xuanhuan could have made a profit of hundreds of millions of taels of silver. Who the hell came up with this idea? Damn bastard! Several grain merchant heads cursed in their hearts. They originally thought that they would make more money after Xuanhuan returned the grain, but now they just wanted to lose less.